Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and finally, we now have Mythic Plus open on the BFA beta. I was hoping for both it and or the initial tuning pass this week, and we actually got both. So today we're going to be taking a look at a level 4 Tol Dagor with Fortified and Sanguine affixes. Here are the talents that I ran for this run. You can also see them on the left hand side of my screen for the duration of the run. This is pretty much the destruction build that has been my go-to build for Mythics while testing destruction, and I was pretty excited to get to try it out in Mythic Plus. One thing that I do need to mention here, however, is that Warcraft log is not currently separating the boss encounters from the rest of the run, so the in-game damage meter will mostly be the meter we have to go to for this run and until it's fixed. I will, however, give my thoughts on each encounter after it's complete and how the fight felt as destruction overall. As far as Mythic Keystones go, the affixes have been swapped around a bit. Instead of Fortified and Tyrannical being the level 10 and above affixes, they're now the level 2 and above affixes, which is a change that I'm not too fond of. While I think it does offer a bit more of a challenge, I think they'd be better suited as the mid-tier affixes than the very first ones. Level 4 is where you start to see the second affix for the week, and as mentioned before, this is the Sanguine week. I would imagine level 7 is when you start seeing the third affix, but at this current time I've not actually run anything below level 4. Let me know what you guys think of this run and the changes to the affixes in the comments below. I have a link to the logs in the description below, even though they're sort of broken, if you want to try and take a closer look at certain things in the run. Also, now that Mythic Plus is out, I'll be running a good bit more of them across multiple specs, so if you want to see more of that, hit the subscribe button. I also wanted to make note that I did leave the vast majority of the trash pulls in this video, as it was a Fortified week and trash does really matter in Mythic Plus. If you want to see just the boss encounters though, I will have timestamps in the description below so you can simply jump to that point in the video. Now the Sanguine goes from a single target encounter to having waves of ads spawn on heroic and higher. With that being said, our single target DPS before the ad spawn was pretty close to the rest of the DPS in the group. However, over the course of the fight, we fell behind due to a lack of cleave really outside of Cataclysm and the Channel Demon Fire, with both being pretty hard to line up as the ads died too fast with the Warrior and Hunter combo. I have felt that Destruction's main weakness was sustained AoE outside of the 5 to 8 second window or so of Cataclysm into Channel Demon Fire, and even in that window, other classes can burst much higher than us on AoE packs.
Explain to me why you haven't flooded the lower levels and drowned these squabbling rats!
My apologies, Lady Ashley. I am confident my men will restore order soon.
You'd better be right, or your replacement's first duty will be to watch you drown with the rest of this scum!
When I first ran Tol Dagor, I thought it would be a pretty interesting dungeon on Fortified weeks with it having so much trash. The interesting part about Tol Dagor is also the Sanguine management for this and upcoming Sanguine weeks. With such large trash packs and the fighting quarters being so small and cramped, you'll see that there's very little room for movement at times, and there were even times when we just became trapped by the Sanguine pools.
Listeners hostages will be up to our snouts in ransom money.
Now sadly our tank DC'd for about 20 minutes before we were able to pull the second boss, but there's not too much that can be done about that. When looking through damage in the downtime, I left the damage meter on a different tab for the first part of the fight, so I was able to swap it back around phase 2. You can see that all 3 DPS are pretty close overall in single target, but once the ads actually began to spawn, the warrior and hunter began to cleave and pull away from us. Once again, this is one of Destruction's main weaknesses, and I really like to see change and tuned a bit more, maybe something along the lines of Fire and Brimstone having its damage increased a bit.
On your feet, little brother. There's killing to be done. Sharpening these blades just when I was up for throw. ready, men! They're coming! Check your fire! I'm looking at you, Flamecaster! If any of these Azeroth munitions explode, we'll all be dust!
You to cinder! Brightest stars!
The third boss is a pure single target encounter. As you can see, the damage in the group was much closer. If we had been able to actually summon our pet and finish eating it beforehand, I think it would be much closer to both the hunter and warrior as well. I did actually summon my imp right after the boss was pulled, but I think it was locked outside the gate or something when she was actually pulled. I did summon it a second time a bit into the fight, but we did lose a good bit of damage there to a bug as well. As you can see here, Demon Hunter tanks are also doing a great deal of damage currently as well, which is a first-hand example of how much tuning there is still to be done on both ends of the spectrum.
To return for your execution. I've been eager to try these rounds on living tonight. You'll get caught in the crossfire. Run all you want. I never miss. Crossfire! Run all you want! I never miss. I've I've been eager to try these rounds on living too. You'll get caught in the crossfire. Run on you! I never miss. Enjoy your last meal. Oh, bullet! You'll get caught in the crossfire. Run all you want. I never miss. I've been eager to try these rounds on shots.
The final boss actually took us 3 attempts to kill, but the fight felt pretty awesome overall. We were second in damage until our death near the end once the healer and hunter had died, but I don't think we were catching the warrior once he was actually an execute. I think this encounter is a great fight to show that on single target, the structure is not as weak as it might have seemed earlier on. The first and second boss both have a good bit of adds present that make padding on them very easy. Coupling that with the other 2 DPS being a warrior and a hunter who are both very strong classes currently on beta, and it might seem like the structure is a bit lacking, but in my opinion it's just not really the case. With that being said, I would however like to see some changes made to Destruction's AoE, as Rain of Fire is a bit too costly on boss attempts at 3 shards most of the time, and while Cataclysm is nice, it's still on a decently long cooldown. Channel and Demon Fire or Havoc are solid tools, but I left with a feeling of just wanting a bit more. One change I can get behind is changing the 40% damage to nearby enemies with Fire and Brimstone to maybe 60% or so, as mechanically the talent is great, but the damage has felt lacking in previous testing. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this first-hand look at Mythic Plus and BFA. Let me know what you thought of this run and the affixes in the comments below. Now that Mythic Plus is out on beta, I'll be running a good bit more across multiple specs, so if you want to see that and other WoW content, smash those like, share, and subscribe buttons. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see y'all pretty soon in Battle for Azeroth. Peace.